This is a hard subject to talk about, but I feel like it's really, really important, and that's why I'm making this video. The 20th of January 2024, I got the opportunity to participate in a suicide prevention course, which was provided by the Ben Raemers Foundation. If you guys don't know who Ben Raemers is, he was a British professional skater. He used to be pro for Enjoy.
When people would say to Ben, you know, you're so lucky, you've got the best job in the world, and I think him struggling deep down, it was probably the hardest thing for him to hear, and it made him probably go into his shell even more. When it became something he had to do, you know, he's got these underlying issues that he hadn't kind of dealt with, and then couldn't understand his anxiety. He'd go into himself. It didn't become about him, it was about skateboarding. So he associated that with, I hate skateboarding.
And sadly, Ben passed away from suicide a couple of years ago. It's very tragic. So it's amazing what his family is doing to create awareness about this whole thing. Making this video, I want to talk about the things that I've learned about suicide prevention and about suicide in general. If you guys ever have the opportunity to participate in one of the Ben Raemers Foundation's suicide prevention programs, I would 100% recommend it. I'm just going to start off by saying, if you have suicidal thoughts, please reach out to your friends or family. People really do care about you. I'm 100% certain that they do. Even though it might not feel like it at times, I'm 100% certain that there is definitely people out there that care about you and that want you to be safe. So the course that the Ben Raemers Foundation provided, it was not specifically guided towards people having suicidal thoughts. It was more so how you should act if you're experiencing suicidal behavior around you, what you can personally do to help somebody in a very suicidal mindset or a suicidal position. This is a safe conversation about a very difficult subject. This kind of shocked me, but when a suicide occurs, it's sort of works as like a kind of a ripple effect. In the middle of this model here, we have reported suicides. It's unreported suicides, you know, so there's actually even more suicides going on than there are reported. I don't quite remember the numbers of the other rings, but I know the outer ring was about 135 people. So it just goes to show that, you know, there's a lot of people that are very affected by suicide, especially if it's somebody that they've known or somebody that they used to know. And the reason for these 135 people on average being affected is the fact that they feel some sort of guilt or regret for not acting. And that's super unfortunate that they start feeling those thoughts.
Towards the end, he was really slim and just like excessively drinking. Even like literally here, when we were here that day and it was like 11, 12, everyone's got beer, but he's like Cherry B, Smirnoff, and then shotgunning beers. And at the time, we're just like, oh, Ben's like having a laugh, but it's like, no, like Ben's hiding stuff, or Ben's like trying to change his mindset. But yeah, at the time, you don't think that's the problem.
This also just starts to increase their vulnerability to suicidal thoughts themselves. Therefore, it's just really, really important to create awareness about this and that we speak freely about it, like I've said before. And that's really what this course has attempted to showcase and attempted to create awareness about. It teaches you to look for specific suicidal traits that might not be all that obvious, but they're very important to observe. It could be verbally that these thoughts are being expressed, or it could be physically. Let's say maybe somebody's having an outbreak on the skate session where somebody just absolutely loses their mind and just starts throwing their board everywhere and just screaming. Things like these could potentially be suicidal traits, because most likely people that are doing these types of things, they really want to be noticed somehow, even though it might be very subtle things that they're doing. They kind of want to signal it, but they're not quite ready to just speak about it themselves. This could be multiple things. There's this other model that set it up really, really well with these 4 different questions about what might we hear the person saying, which could be stuff like, I can't take it anymore, I don't want to be here, these types of things. What might we see a person doing? It could be an increased alcohol/drug use, or low or no self-care, an increased risk-taking behavior, maybe if they're just skating something way out of their level. What might we also sense that a person is feeling in this type of situation? You know, they might feel very sad or depressed, or maybe even worthless in some situations. And a lot of the times there's something that's happened in these people's lives. They could have experienced a loss of a family member, for example, or they could have experienced bullying. Yeah, it could be a lot of things, but it's important to look out for these types of traits.
He was throwing himself at stuff, picking fights. He called me really drunk and was just like, "I'm so sorry, Luce, but I can't do this anymore. I love you." It was almost like he was talking about it so openly all the time. You know, you think you're not going to do that. And it wasn't like it was him in a sober state.
If you're in a safe environment, give this person permission to speak about it. We need to ask one clear question if they're having suicidal thoughts, because this might be one of the hardest things that they've ever spoken about. This might be the biggest secret that they've ever kept, that they might actually have been thinking about something as severe as suicide. And therefore it's really the next step in order to address the elephant in the room. The number one priority here is this person's safety. So it's important that when you're asking this really big question, that you guys are in a safe environment, that there's no potential things that can harm this person. So let's go over some steps now of what a person that is thinking about suicide really needs. They need you to recognize the distress and the signal that this person might be sending out, because it creates some sort of connection that's really important. Step number 2 is to ask this person about suicide, if they've been having suicidal thoughts, because this really gives them permission to talk about what they might have been thinking. Number 3 is to listen to them. A person in this situation really has a need for understanding. They really need somebody to hear their pain and somebody to understand how they might feel right now. They need some sort of direction, basically just explaining them that living or dying aren't the only options here. You need to show them that safety is an option too, and that it's possible to put the whole thing on pause and just to think thoroughly about the whole situation. You basically need to help this person realize the options that they do have and what they might need to do in order to get their life back on track. Create a safety plan, and in some situations where it's very severe, you might need to make connections with life support. There are also things not to do in this type of situation where you're talking about suicide. You shouldn't tell this person what to physically or verbally do. It can really raise tension, and they really need softness in this situation. So it's important not to tell them what to do. It's important to just listen, like I said before, and just give them 100% of your attention. You don't need to reason with them either. That's not what they want to hear. They don't want you to tell them that they're not a failure or they're not this or that. Like I said before, it's really just important to listen and just be in the moment and just let them speak up. They don't need your judgment either. It's just really important for you not to judge the whole situation and to just focus on that person. And this person doesn't need solutions at the time of this conversation either. Not even if you may have experienced a situation like the one that you're in while having this conversation. They just really need 100% of the focus. That's really what matters in this situation. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. By just sitting, listening, and showing that you understand the person, it really gives them emotional oxygen and it makes them feel heard, and that's just so important in this situation. Friends or family are informal resources that we have access to. Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous are some of the more formal resources if substance is what's causing the suicidal behavior. It's just so important that we talk more openly about this and that we create awareness about this. If you haven't already watched all of the Smile videos on the Ben Raemers Foundation YouTube channel, I would highly recommend you go watch those. It just goes to show that some of your favorite skaters out there, they might be struggling mentally, or they might have struggled mentally beforehand with aloneness, pain, or even depression. And it just goes to show that you're not alone about these thoughts. I love what the Ben Raemers Foundation is doing. If you have the possibility to attend one of these suicide prevention courses that they do, I would highly recommend you do so. I really felt like it was 100% worth it, and it was just super cool connecting with skaters all over the world, hearing what they have to say about this type of situation, even though it's a very hard topic. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a great week, and I'll see you guys next Friday.